At the top of your paper, I want you to write yourself a note, like up here in this white part. Here's your first note. Only add tops. That's your first note. Your second note is leave the bottoms alone. This will make sense in just a minute. Okay, go give that to Lainey. It must have stuck with your paper. Okay, those are your two notes. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. I'm going to say that like 7 times so it'll drill in your head. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Okay, and we're talking about fractions. So here we go. We're adding fractions today. So mark out 1 and 2, and we'll start on number 3. And I don't like how they did it horizontal. I think we should do it vertical. And by the way, this stuff doesn't help me. And I would rather you just do it my way, okay? So kind of disregard these strips. Just look at the number. So on your scrap paper, you should have 1/2 and 1/4 on top of each other, just like we did last week. The only difference is now we're going to add them. We didn't add them last week. Okay, so you got to find the biggest denominator. Do you think that's 2 or 4?
4.
Get your pens on 4, don't move it. So let's start multiplying times 4. 4 times 1 would be 4. Is 2 times anything ever going to be 4? Yes, so that's your new denominator. Now we're on the top fraction. How in the world do we go from 2 to 4? What do we multiply by? 2 times what gets me 4? 2. So put a times 2 right there in the middle. And if we multiply the bottom times 2, we got to multiply the top times 2. So 1 times 2 would give me 2. Now we're on the bottom. So far, every bit of this is what we did last week, okay? How do we go from 4 to 4? We multiply times 1. So if you multiply the bottom times 1, you got to multiply the top times 1. So 1 times 1 would be 1. Now, draw a line down here because we're adding. And look back at your notes that I gave you with the little stars. What's the first thing that I said on your notes? Say it. Only add the tops. What's the second thing I said? Leave the bottoms alone. So watch, we're only going to add the tops of these fractions, which by the way, the official word for that is numerator. So we're only going to add the numerator. So what would 2 plus 1 get me? 3. What do I do to the bottom? What did I tell you? Leave the bottoms alone, so 4 stays 4. You do not add the bottoms. Got it? Say got it. Okay, so now we got to fill in some squares. What did I change 1/2 to be? Say this fraction. 2/4. So that's your first set of boxes. Now your second set. What did I change 1/4 to be? I actually didn't change it. I left it the same, didn't I? So that's your second set of boxes. And when we added those together, we got 3/4. Please shake your head and go, oh, this isn't hard. I mean, this is just one more step of what we did last week. Easy peasy. Okay. Number 4 says, I'm down here. I don't think I'm going to scroll up. 1/2. Write this on your scrap paper. Plus 2/5. Put a plus sign, a line, and new fraction lines. So far your scrap paper should look just like my scrap paper. Okay, so we can either start on 2 or 5. Where do you want to start on?
5.
Get your pens on 5 and don't move it. So let's start multiplying times 1. 5 times 1 would get me 5, but is 2 times anything going to get me 5? Why? It's an odd number, and nothing times 2 is ever going to get you an odd number. 2s are always going to get you even numbers, aren't they? So we got to go to the next 5. What's the next 5? 10. Is 2 times anything going to get you 10? Yes, so put 10 here and 10 here. Now we're on the top fraction. So how in the world do we go from 2 to 10? 2 times what gets me 10? 5. So if you multiply the bottom times 5, you got to multiply the top times 5. So what would 1 times 5 get me? 5. So there's your new fraction that goes right here in your first box, 5/10. Now we're on the bottom fraction. How in the world do we go from 5 to 10? What do we multiply by? 5 times 2. And if we multiply the bottom times 2, we got to multiply the top times 2. So 2 times 2 gets me 4. There's your second set of boxes. So if I only add the tops and I leave the bottoms alone, 5 plus 4 would get me 9/10. There's your answer. 9/10. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Say it. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Say it one more time. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. There we go. Okay, number 5. 1/6. Ooh, they gave us 3 fractions. So 1/3 and 1/6. Just stack 3 on top of each other. Put a plus sign and draw your line. Easy peasy. It's the same exact thing. You just have an extra fraction. So now we've got to decide where we're going to start. Do you want to start on 6 or a 3 or a 6?
6.
It really doesn't matter what 6 we're going to start on. I'm just going to start on the bottom one. It doesn't really matter though. Okay? Now let's multiply 6 times 1. What are you going to get? 6 times 1 is 6. Now we got to test these others. Are you watching? Eyes, 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 eyes. I know this is 6. Will 6 times something get me 6? Yes. Will 3 times something get me 6? Yes. So guess what? Uh-oh. That's my new denominator. There you go. Put 6, 6, 6 right there. So on the top fraction, Hope, how do I go from 6 to 6?
You multiply it with 3.
6 times 3 gets me 18. Should have said times 1. 6 times 1 gets me 6. So if you multiply the bottom times 1, you got to multiply the top times 1. So 1 times 1 would get me 1. Now we're on this middle fraction. Xander, how do we go from 3 to 6? What do we multiply by, bud? 2. 3 times 2 gets me 6. So if I multiply the bottom times 2, I got to multiply the top times 2. 1 times 2 gets me 2. And the bottom fraction stays the same again, because all I'm doing is multiplying times 1. Okay, let me scroll up a little bit. Okay, so what in the world over here did we change 1/6 to be? What did 1/6 become?
1/6.
1/6. There's your first squares. Hey, excuse me. Now on our second fraction, what did 1/3 become? What did we change it to be? 2/6. That's your second set of squares. And 1/6 is 1/6 again. So that's what you should have so far. Hey, excuse me. Now, only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Say it. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. So we got to add 1 plus 2 would get me 3, plus 1 more would get me 4, what? 6, because I got to leave the bottom alone. So now you're probably wondering, why is there another square? Well, I'll tell you. Okay, pencils down and watch me. When you see 4, 6, this is what a 5th grade middle school student should be thinking. Those are both even numbers. I can't leave a fraction with even numbers. It can be reduced smaller by 2. Why 2? Because every number that multiplies by 2 is always an even number. Are you tracking with me? 2 is always going to work on even numbers. So let's pretend like I'm on a diving board and I'm 2. And I want to dive into 4. How many times can 2 dive into 4? 2 times what is going to get me 4? 2. There's your new top number. Now I'm still 2, and I'm still on a diving board, and I'm diving into 6. How many times can 2 dive into 6? 3. So there's your new fraction. You would never leave it 4/6. Because those are both even numbers, okay? We turn the page. explain why the denominator 6 in 3/6 is not changed. You should probably underline not changed when adding the fractions. Okay, just pencils down and watch me. Let's see if somebody can tell me the answer. Here's the first set of fractions they gave me. Those won't work. They don't have a common denominator. So they stacked 3/6 on top of 1/3. Just like I showed you. They drew new fraction lines. They started on 6 right here because it's the biggest denominator. And they started multiplying that times 1. 6 times 1 gets you 6. Is 3 times anything going to get you 6?
Yeah.
You bet. That's why they say this word.
No.
Didn't change it. They left it at 6. And then how do you go from 6 to 6? They multiply times 1. 3 times 1 gets you 3. Ding, 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 ding. They didn't change it. Now we're on the bottom. How do you go from 3 to 6? Times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Ding, 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 ding. Okay? So we're not worried about this fraction. I want you to tell me, why did we not change it here? Why is 6 still 6? Coop, let's hear from you first.
Because it's multiplying by 1.
Okay, maybe. What were you going to say?
Because
Why would I pick 6? Why do I think there's no reason to pick another number? Why would I like 6?
it's the lowest.
Okay, there's your answer. Because it's the lowest common denominator. It's the lowest common denominator. There's denominator if you don't know how to spell that. It's the lowest common denominator. Number 7. Oh, this is interesting. About 1 out of 10, or 1/10 of your bones in your body are where? What does that say? Your skull. Where's your skull? Your noggin, huh? Underline skull, underline 1/10. Now you're on your hands. Your hands have about how many bones? 1/4 of your body. Underline hands, underline or circle 1/4. So we got bones in our skull, we got bones in our hands. Get your pencil and write. This is going to tell you what to do. We're going to write and solve a what? Okay, look at me. Equation means it needs a letter. It's missing some information. Letter meaning X or Y or A or M, okay? Write or solve an equation to find the fraction of bones in your body that are in your what? Hands or skull. What in the world am I going to do? What kind of equation am I going to have? Do you know?
Subtraction? We know addition.
Yeah, first off, he said subtraction. If it was subtraction, we would have heard how many more? How much more? I didn't hear that. We're going to add. So we're going to add hands plus skull equal, what did I tell you? It has to have what? A letter. So somebody give me an equation. Bentley, I would love to hear from you. Hands plus skull equal a letter. Or skull plus hands equal a letter. It doesn't matter. You want me to write R? That's the equation? I need more than that, Brooklyn. Hands plus skull equal a letter. Yes, there's your skull. Plus what? 1/4. A. You don't have to use A. It's up to you. Now, why can I not add 1/10 plus 1/4? Why can I not add that, Kiara?
Because the 4 is not 10.
The what?
The 1/4 is not 1/10.
You mean I don't have a common denominator? So on your scrap paper, write 1/10 and 1/4 and come out to the side with the new fraction line. Where am I going to start, on 10 or on 4? Find 10. Get your pencil on it, don't move it. Jake Lee, what's 10 times 1? Is 4 times anything ever going to get you 10, sister? Then go the next 10. What's the next 10? No, we're multiplying times 10s. 10 times 1, 10 times 2, 10 times 3. 20. Is 4 times anything going to get you 20? 4 times 5 is 20. Yeah, it is. So you better put 20 here. Okay, I forgot what to do, Lainey. What do I do up here on the top fraction?
Find out what you multiply by.
Okay, what do I multiply by? How do you go from 10 to 20?
Times 2.
Yep, times 2. Good, Lainey. So if you multiply the bottom times 2, you got to multiply the top times 2. So 1 times 2 gets you 2. So far, that's what you should have on your paper. Colin, now I'm on the bottom fraction. What do I do?
4 times 5 is 20.
4 times 5 would get you 20. So if you multiply the bottom times 5, Colin, got to multiply the top times 5. So what would you get? 5. Now we're adding these because we're adding the hands and the skull. Tell me what I do next, Hope.
We gotta multiply. We gotta add.
Add what?
4 and no.
Only add the tops. Leave the bottoms alone. Only add the tops. Leave the bottoms alone.
2 and 20.
Honey, that's the bottom. This is the top number. This is the top number. These are the bottom numbers. Do you see how this is top? Look, that's top. That's bottom. This is top. This is bottom. So you wouldn't add those because what did I tell you to do with the bottoms?
Only add the tops.
Only add the tops.
So 2 and 5. 7.
What about the bottom?
20 and 20.
You don't add the bottom. I told you to leave the bottoms alone. Only add the tops. Leave the bottoms alone. Say it. Only add the tops. Leave the bottoms alone. Say it. Only add the tops. Leave the bottoms alone. Now on your equation, now you have to write A equals or whatever letter you put. 7/20. There's your answer. Okay, number 8. Of 36 chemical elements. I guess that's talking about like oxygen, hydrogen. I'm not a scientist, but that's kind of what? Peroxide isn't an element, but you'd put hydrogen with it to make it hydrogen peroxide. But there's 36 of them. Sit up straight, come on, pay attention. 2 of them are named for women, 25 are named for places. So I've got 2 out of the 36 that are named for women, 25 out of the 36 that are named for places. Get your pencil on what? What fraction? That's important because so far I haven't seen any fractions. You're going to have to figure out what the fractions are. Of these 36 elements are named for women or places. So I'm going to say again, look up here at me. 2 out of 36 are for women. 25 out of 36 are for places. So how would I write the women fraction? Do you know, Colin?
36.
Yeah, 2/36. So if that was for women, Bentley, how would I do the places? 25/36. So far, this is what you should have. And now we got to figure out if I'm adding or subtracting. What is it? Do you hear how much more? Did you hear that? Do you hear how much longer? No. Instead, what is it wanting you to do? It's wanting to know how much of the elements are for women and places. It's wanting you to put them together. So put a plus sign here and draw a line. Now, what are you thinking? I hope you're reading my mind. Is anybody reading my mind? You're reading my mind? What am I thinking?
2 plus 25.
That ain't what I was thinking. Is anybody thinking what I'm thinking? I'm sending out vibes through my eyes. Here's what I was thinking. They both have common denominators. There's no reason to come over here and draw these fraction lines. Are y'all tracking with me? 36 is the same as 36. So you don't have to find a common denominator. You already have a common denominator. Then the next step would be to do what you said. What were you saying?
Add 2 and 25.
Add 2 and 25 and get
27, 36.
27 over 36. Good job. There's your answer. We put the women fractions and the places fractions together. Okay, last one, number 9. Roger made a table showing how much he spends his time in one day. Look over at that table. What does he do in one day? What does he do first? Works, and he, you don't meals. You eat, and he works, you don't computer, works on his computer. So these are the things he does in one day. Find your pencil on how. How many days will go by before Roger has, what does that word say? Slept. You should circle that. So are we looking at how much he worked?
No.
Mark it out. Are we looking at how much he ate?
No.
Mark it out. Are we looking at how much he worked on his computer? No. We're only working on how much he slept. Okay, we're still back here. Get your pencil back on how. How many days will go by before Roger has slept the equivalent or the equal of, what does this say right here? One whole day. Well, like last night, me, okay? I went to sleep about 10:30, so watch me. This is just me. I slept from 10:30 to 11:30 to 12:30 to 1:30 to 2:30 to 3:30 to 4:30 to 5:30 to 6:30. I woke up about 6:30 this morning. So I slept 8 hours, okay? How many hours are in a day?
24.
So look what Miss Caulfield slept. Watch, Luke. I slept 8 out of 24 hours, okay? Now, how would I have known, or how would you have known, if I slept the whole entire day? What would my fraction be? 24 out of 24, because that's what worth one whole is. Now, let's look at the slept. Get your pencil on slept. Are we on 24s?
No.
What are we on? 8. So what would one whole day be on 8s? 8 eighths. Now watch. So on Monday, you better watch. He slept 3/8. Did he sleep one whole day on Monday? No. On Tuesday, Xander's not paying attention. Did he sleep one whole day on Tuesday?
No.
But let's put these together. What would 3/8 and 3/8 get you? So far, I've got 6/8. Has he slept a whole day yet? No. On Wednesday, how much did he sleep? 3/8. If we put these together, what do we get?
9.
Has he slept a whole day yet? Why do you say yes? Because, why are you saying yes?
Because it's over.
It's over 8/8. So how many days did it take him to sleep a whole day? 3. There's your answer.
3 days.
That's what I said. Okay, I'm not going to do 10 and 11 with you. I might do some of them with you. So what they're saying is choose yes or no to tell if the fraction 1/2 will make each equation true. Write 1/2 in every one of these boxes. And on number 11, you're writing 4/7. Whoa. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone. Only add the tops, leave the bottoms alone, okay? So I don't care which one you pick, Kiara. Pick one on 10 or 11. It doesn't matter which one you want to do.
The first one on 11.
She wants to pick the first one on 11. Are y'all tracking with me? So on your paper, write 1/14 and 4/7. We're adding, and we're going to see if we get the answer of 9/14. Okay, get your pencil on 14 because that's your bigger denominator. What would 14 times 1 be? 14. Is 7 times anything ever going to be 14? Yes, so there's your new denominator. On the top, Bentley, tell me what to do. Times it by 1. So if you multiply the bottom times 1, you got to multiply the top times 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. Sander, why aren't you doing this? Okay, you're really, really, really aggravating me. Bad. Brooklyn, on the bottom, how do you go from 7 to 14? Multiply it times 2. So if you multiply the bottom times 2, Colin, you got to multiply the top times 2. What would the top times 2 be? 8. Now what do I do, Jake Lee? Look, I'm adding. You only add the tops, don't you? And what is 1 plus 8? 9. Jake Lee, what do I do with the bottoms? I do what? I leave them the same. So we got 9/14. Look over here. Is that correct? Yes. So circle yes. Okay, do you see how to do it? That's how you do 10 and 11. So you really have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 problems to do. Then, don't forget, tomorrow, practice Betty 7-2 are due. Okay? Go. No, but you